Welcome everyone to the Minions of the Zoo telecast for the evening of Tuesday. And I'm your host this evening, SkepTock. And with me, I have Minions Adam of Clan Veggie the First.
Greetings.
And a terrific Scottish accent, and Prospero.
I'm sorry, I'm not a Russian Scot. Greetings. He's like he just
More
sounds
from
like
Malvania or Scottish.
yeah, that's I am the Scottish vampire.
I'm here to
Ah.
suck your haggis.
I am yes, I'm here to suck your haggis
And your freedom.
and your
Oh,
freedom. Yeah.
There you
Oh God, we all should be shot for that.
Truly, I'm so glad Tail doesn't listen to this.
Yeah, he's got some self-respect.
Yeah, exactly. No, but
God, how could you be saying such things?
Although, honest to God, that night that I think Poppy was hosting, and Tail popped on, and then Gutenberg showed up, and then
Oh, God,
Gutenberg
yes.
absolutely had to do the Braveheart thing, and then he starts trying to do his Scottish accent, and Tail said, "Why, yes, my Punjabi friend," because the accent that Gutenberg was doing sounded much more like.
Gutenberg was an entertaining alcoholic. I'll give him that. I mean,
Sorry
he would-
about that
Uh-oh.
background noise.
Oh, I thought it was a reaction to my brilliant insight.
No,
He
that was my
entertaining.
husband dropping something on the floor
Ah, all right.
and then yelling, even though he knows damn well that I'm on live. It's just what we do in this house now.
Oh.
Open
heavens.
floor plans suck in that regard.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't think about that. Living in an office that is a captured front porch, I'm, I don't know what an open floor plan means.
Hey,
Well, I
one of
moved
the
up-
most segmented
by the
houses
way.
I've ever been. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. My Ramones
Yeah.
shirt, show it in all its glory, showing the seal of the Ramones with.
Yep.
That's
He done
awesome.
the bet. Put him in a bet. Wait.
Still pissed off that I could have seen them live at CBGB's in downtown
What?
in Manhattan. Yeah, I had the chance to go see them live, and these guys said, "Come on, we're going down this dive, this terrible bar. It's down in Soho or somewhere. We're gonna take the train down there." I was up on 38th Street, up by Penn Station. I said, "No, I'm not going down there. I don't want to get knifed." This was 1980. Okay, you didn't go down there unless you had a plan and a mob. And so, and these four guys went down there, and they came back. Oh man, there was this amazing band. The opening band was better than the house band, the Ramones. And I said, well, that's nice. What was that? What were these Talking Heads people? This new band was the Talking Heads. The fucking Talking Heads was opening for the Ramones. It was like the first couple of months that they were together. I could have seen them. God damn it, I wish I'd gone down there that night. So I wore my Ramon shirt, but it's kind of my hair shirt. That was for Prospero.
Yes, I know precisely what you mean. Thrashing yourself
I would not be mistaken for the
over 43-year-old news. Yes, you come from Catholic heritage way back.
Well,
so,
back in the
yes.
day, yes. Back in the day,
Yes.
yes. Very, very much. I'm certain some of my forebears, evidently after they bred, were burned at the stake in England. They were those kinds of people, and they were, they went to Ireland and thought, well, it's, more Catholic over here. We'll be welcome. silly Scots Irish. Go to America, and they did.
Yeah, they hadn't joined the Knox Brigade.
No,
They went over to they went over to Northern Ireland as papists. Yeah, back in those days. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, they
Jacobean trash.
My family was Catholic. My family was Catholic. My dad's family was Catholic until in Alabama, until they were threatened by a bunch of local thugs to quit. They had to leave town. Everybody saw a drive out of town. They had a car, and it was like in the 20s, and they drive out of town to the Catholic church that was in the next town over, and they said, if you do that again, we're going to be waiting for you when you come back. We'll hang you. And they offered to hang my great grandfather from the pecan tree that still stands in front of the house that the family still owns down there. It's kind of a long and strange story. And so here's what he did. He said, okay. And he showed up at the Methodist church like the next Wednesday. He didn't even wait for Sunday. He went to one of the midweek sermons and was part of the temperance movement down there. Very interesting story. Probably more interesting to me than anybody else. But
it's what Dick Gregory.
But that's why we're not Catholic. That's why I have Methodist and Presbyterian roots.
Well, it's the people that visited him were the ones that Dick Gregory referred to as the three cousins. We all know them, the Ku Klux and Klan.
KK and K. But listen, the interesting thing in my family, the reason I have both Presbyterian and Methodist roots is a feud in my family, which I won't bother to go into, split the family. And so part of the family goes to the Methodist church and part of the family goes to the Presbyterian church, which is maybe 150 yards away. And both are on opposite sides of the house. They're almost equidistant from the house, about 2 city blocks away. So everybody walks to church, and they walk to separate churches. Then they all meet up for lunch at the same place in Bay Minette. They do it to this day.
That's fascinating.
I just thought you would appreciate.
Yes,
the sheer southernness of that. It should make your heart go pitter.
Well, the Methodist,
you understand that.
Well, yeah, in Methodism and some of its temperance and some of its social justice movement compared to some of the branches of the Presbyterian church.
Presbyterians are a lot more easygoing. It's like,
generally speaking, yes, and usually
the big thing about it.
The saying is, where 4 are gathered, there's a 5th.
Well, there's that, and there's also the pressure to contribute.
Yes. Well, they became less Calvinist. They yeeted the Westminster Confession, and so they.
Oh yeah.
They kind of got
very, very, very different. Yes.
But a lot of them have, at least around here, have joined BDS and that kind of. They've gotten very.
Don't get me started about BDS. That is fucking anti-Semitic bullshit.
Yes, it is, and as a result, I've never darkened the door.
Anybody
of the church in
ever
which Cree and I were married in? So.
I'm good to go. Oh, Mash is here. Hey, Mash.
Hey, Mash. She's too.
He can tell Mash how he blames me for whatever the default thing I'm being blamed for tonight.
Oh, cool. You're getting blamed.
You can still see Johnny Ramone, just not live. They're all dead. Every one of them's dead. Every one of them is dead. And Johnny was the longest. He's the guitar player, and he lasted the longest. I think.
No, wasn't one of the
outlived Joey. No, he outlived Joey. Now I'm not talking about the pretend Ramones. I'm talking about Dee Dee, Joey, Johnny, and the one before Elvis. The drummer before Elvis. Anyway,
God, stop
I'm old. I forget.
Well,
she's doing the thing about drafting me for president.
Because Marky was a replacement for somebody as well, if I remember correctly. I think there was an original drummer, and then Marky was the one that covered for him, and then there was that other guy later in the bit.
Yep. So anyway, old pop tunes.
Wow,
so
I'm fucking dumb.
Sorry. Everybody is probably pretty talked out. I'm talked out about Trump and all this stuff. I don't know what this indictment's going to say. I listed John Turley tonight, and I don't really have much to say. If you guys want to talk about it, though, we can talk about it. Otherwise,
it's going to be beaten to death across the YouTubes.
We're going to be talking about it forever.
Flogged into.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Did you have anything in terms of what you wanted to chat about this evening?
Well, what was the thing that you were talking about in Discord?
That I was talking about?
Yeah, with me.
Okay, with the raft experiment being done
Yeah.
again.
Can you explain? Can you provide
Well, a friend of
background
mine texted me that there is a show on Discovery called Survive the Raft.
Okay.
And it's obviously a social engineering project, but it's in the survivor mode of bread and circuses TV. That what passes as TV nowadays. And the idea is you're putting all these very, very disparate people on a raft, and they've got to travel whatever particular amount of distance, but they've been handpicked to be people who are going to have the greatest amount of differences with one another.
Hold on,
imagine my surprise at that insight.
Like a Tom Sawyer type of raft?
Well, no, I mean, no, it's an ocean-going raft kind of idea.
Ocean-going raft?
Yes, this is predicated on a social experiment that was done by a Mexican anthropologist back in the 70s. And that raft was designed to float for like about 100 days from Europe to the Americas.
Oh, wait.
A documentary was done in 2018 about it.
I think I saw something similar.
Yeah, the raft.
Where it was like it looked like a giant, like a bowl, but just like a widened bowl.
Well,
the one that I saw, and I think this because he was trying to link it with the Mesopotamian legend of the ark, like the kind of the Noah story.
Well, the guy that was involved in the 1971 was actually part of the Heyerdahl.
That was
original Kon-Tiki raft experiment, and that was more of an ocean current human migration experiment.
Yeah,
right.
Than anything else, and it was very indicative of how the certain racial characteristics of people in on the west coast of South Africa can resemble Asians. That it makes perfect sense that ocean currents were how people moved from islands, and in all likelihood became perhaps
they used them to assist. They had other means of controlling their direction and speed at sea, which is what you do when you navigate. But they knew about the currents, and they used them. They didn't really understand the uniformity of the sea. They thought the sea was different everywhere.
Well, yes, because there had been nobody like Matthew Fontaine Maury to map the ocean currents.
Yes, exactly.
Or David Mahan to further explore navigation. This was well before that, when people
know about those names. That's very impressive.
Well, Pathfinder of the Seas, Matthew Fontaine Maury. He used to have a statue on Monument Avenue, but they had to get rid of it because he was a Confederate for about 15 minutes.
I was going to say, he didn't get tainted with the Confederate thing? You and I talked about that.
Yes, he did. He was tarred with that brush because he did serve briefly in the Confederate Navy. Yeah, even though the man's current mapping is still used and always will be used, because those currents, he discovered the fixed currents of the world.
Yeah,
of the world's oceans.
They're always current.
Yes, but those are crucial to everything about seafaring. And it was an absolute crucial role the man played in making global navigation for all kinds of purposes easier.
More understandable.
Much more understandable, not reliant necessarily on trade winds, or that it's a power assist that these currents do these things.
Oh my God! When you're sitting there on a ship, this happens to every new officer. You're out there, you think, man, I'm keeping the tightest dead reckoning track. I know exactly where I am. I'm badass. Loran's coming in 3 minutes. I'm going to find out what my correction is. Correction comes in, and you're like a half a mile. You've been pushed off half a fucking mile, by in 10 minutes by current. That's the kind of it really can change it. And the other thing is it just plays hell when you're going across a current, keeping your heading. That's
up,
man.
Like you said, the mouth of the Chesapeake, just trying to keep a due south heading, and it'll push you 20 miles out to sea before you know.
No, those are the real sailors. We let the Coast Guard do that.
yeah, because
it's the guys who handle the coastal stuff.
That's one of the reasons why the lights along
the
area were so important, because that light looks like it's getting dimmer. Yes, it is, because you're getting pushed out into the ocean.
Fucking eye.
You better come back so you can see that light.
Right.
And now you're back on course. And in the shoaly waters between the mouth of the Chesapeake and Charleston, it's tremendously important to know your currents, because it's the graveyard of the Atlantic for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just the U-boat turkey shoot that was going on there. It was the damned shoals. There are a lot of shipwrecks that took place between Chesapeake, Virginia, and Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah. Do you think there are? It's like one of the most famous places on Earth.
Yes.
It's a graveyard for boat ships.
It is for the Atlantic.
Of any kind.
It is called the Graveyard of the Atlantic.
Yes.
All kinds of ships have met incredible, sad ends there. It's why the life-saving service along the Outer Banks and the boat, the Shackelford Banks, the boat banks, were legendary men, because ships would founder and there would be amazing rescues that were carried out to get people to shore, to whatever safety they could. And those guys used to row out to those boats. Yep. It's why the lights are still active through there. I mean, they're not manned, but they're still active, because your GPS goes out, you're going to be damn glad they're lighthouses.
Oh, believe me, well, I was in the Navy without GPS. Yes,
correct.
Occasionally we could get a Loran fix, at sea, just depended on where you were and if the satellite was working, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Omega was not really a thing. It was coming into its own, but there was no real GPS when we were there. Every single time I did a fix was either a piloting fix, meaning that I, took a site, of something that was fixed on land and did a course correction off of that, or was a celestial, taking a fix and looking things up in the HO pubs to compute what my exact position was.
Yeah, and your piloting fixes along that coast are lighthouses. I mean, that's
exactly what you use them for, and they're in your charts. They're in the charts, Prospero.
Yeah,
I have taken a sight off some of those lights. I really have.
Lookouts, particularly.
Or I've watched why somebody did it, actually.
Well, Cape Lookout's important, because they're as you come down between, from Cape Charles, that area, and I mean all of them are very important. The ones along the Jersey coast, the ones in Delaware, Cape Charles, but from Cape Charles to, particularly Old Baldy, because the whole North Carolina, if you look at how the coastline bends from Virginia to South Carolina, it'll give you an idea about how weird things can be, because you've got inlets, which means you have cross current that people are piloting against.
Yeah, the notice to mariners about around the Chesapeake and around that area, there's just constant notices to mariners. Constant. It's just like a printing press.
But if you look at Oregon Inlet below it's an area that's called the Outer Banks, but it's actually the extended peninsula that runs from Fort Story, Virginia Beach, all the way down to the break between Nag's Head and Hatteras Island. Oregon Inlet, if you look at it from the bridge over the inlet, you can see what fishing vessels hit, where they hit the literal breakwater.
I don't know the name, like the sounds and stuff. Where are you?
Pamlico, Albemarle Sounds coming out.
All right,
Oregon
I'm looking at Albemarle. And do I go up? Where am I looking
south?
For?
You're
south,
moving south toward Hatteras Island, because the Pamlico Sound is kind of south of Roanoke Island, and the Albemarle.
Pamlico. Okay, I got Pamlico.
But if you find Oregon Inlet, it's between Rodanthe, Pea Island, and Nag's Head.
Okay. What about it? What's interesting about it?
Well, the reason it's named Oregon Inlet, peculiar for the East Coast.
Oh, I see what
is the USS about. Oregon it was a paddle wheeler, was the first vessel to pass through that inlet after it opened in the 1840s. Interesting. That inlet didn't open until the 1840s. There used to be an inlet up toward Virginia Beach, but still in North Carolina. That closed up, and then there was no inlet until below Hatteras. So for those protected fishing vessels that wanted to come around into Pamlico and up toward Roanoke Island, they had a hell of a trip to get out to open ocean. So it was a big deal when the Oregon Inlet opened up. It's a major area for fishing vessels to go in and out of. But there is a clear breakwater that you hit when you move from the Sound. I mean, you can see the waves breaking in the water. And it's a very narrow fishing vessel channel. And you know the program Wicked Tuna?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen that.
Well, the Wicked Tuna North Carolina crowd and the Wicked Tuna Gloucester crowd have gone against each other. Well, they use two different shaped hulls, because the North Carolina crowd has to cut through that breakwater. So they need the sharper, more angular hull to cut through it, so they don't slap, where the Gloucester guys came down with their boats and they were like, gah, 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 when they go through the breakwater, because they don't have that sharp cutter.
Interesting.
Bow.
I don't know much
because of two different harbors that they're sailing out of.
Sure, it makes sense. It makes all kinds of sense.
But they are both sailing in what is some of the worst waters along the Atlantic. Up off of Gloucester is where you've got the Labrador Current coming in around.
Oh God, yeah.
Because the Gulf Stream is just F straight off at Cape Cod.
Oh yeah,
and that's where the Labrador Current is coming down. And so you've got rough waters
a lot of the reason
off Cape Ann up there, and Marlborough, Gloucester. It's tough work for them, and it's tough work for the fishermen of the Outer Banks. They're both up against it, which makes them. It's an interesting thing to have guys.
How will this pertain to othering?
It doesn't. We just got off on ocean currents. Othering.
I know, but I loved what you had to say about that. I'd like to get some of that said.
Yeah, it's me doing my sanguine thing, right? You dangled a shiny object in front of me, and I had to go on.
I didn't mean to, but I did want to talk.
So the raft, anyway, the original raft.
Yeah.
They kept trying to. This anthropologist ended up inserting himself very much in his project because he was aboard the raft. Matter of fact, he mutinied and took over the ship. He kept trying to provoke to see whether he could break the peace of the people on the raft.
He's the anthropologist?
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what an anthropologist
Yes, I know.
does. Okay.
But you got a guy with a god complex. And his little lab rats aren't doing what he wants them to do, so he provokes them. And he still didn't get what he wanted. Nobody decided that they needed to kill each other. He was the one that overreacted. And they basically called it the sex raft. All right,
bad things can happen.
They basically ended up calling it the sex raft.
Oh, really?
It was make love, not war, won out in the early 1970s in that social experiment. So the one they're doing now, of course, has a big cash prize and identity politicking to some extent.
Tell me, are they doing it naked?
No, they're not. They've already
Thank
got
God.
naked and afraid. So, you know,
Thank
they're
God.
not being
I saw that
repetitious.
advertised.
This is bread and circuses. Okay, this is let's watch the Christians get eaten by the lions. It's kind of a sick and very dehumanizing form of TV, but it's still not as sick, in my opinion, as othering.
Well, othering, to wit, what the DNC is doing?
Yes. Ted Lieu put out a post the other day that was actually really...
Tell the viewers who Ted Lieu is.
He's a senator.
Yeah.
United States senator.
Apparatchik.
Absolute apparatchik.
Almost quintessential, really.
I think he humps to pictures of Levin Beria. If not, it's Joe Stalin and Mao.
Yeah.
He's socialist got a socialist. And othering, how to tell that the Nazis were socialists? Othering was important to them.
Absolutely.
It was very important to Joseph Stalin, too.
What happens when you other someone?
Oh, you end up
their identity.
Yes, and you end up with a chain of concentration camps, or a chain, or shall we say, archipelago of gulags.
When you objectify someone, you can do anything you want to an object, can't you?
Yes, you can.
I don't really
think the object has no soul.
Yes.
Not your perceived version of soul. And you can actually, through othering, create a virtue out of hatred. The Nazis did it very effectively. Love your motherland, hate the Jew. It became a virtue to hate the Jew. Right. To hate the other. It is clearly in this country
you
a
hate
virtue.
Racists, don't you? You hate racists, don't you?
You hate MAGA, don't you?
Yes, you hate MAGA too, and racist.
Isn't
MAGA.
that
and
kind of
just
what they
call
did
everybody racist and MAGA?
Isn't that what they kind of did in China too?
Yes.
Where they had like the 5 olds or something like that.
Yeah, the Great Leap Forward. They othered.
Yeah, and then they indoctrinated the younger generation to call out.
Yep. They had a little book, the sayings of Chairman Mao, is called the Little Red Book, and in it was had little aphorisms like, if a comrade does a bad thing, or is not efficient, or is lazy, or contravenes some rule of the party, then he is not a comrade anymore. He is not part of us. He's not part of China anymore. And he has to be, like a defective product. He has to be taken to a warehouse, evaluated to see if he's salvageable, and if not, he'll be thrown away, literally killed and put in the ground. That was the Great Leap Forward.
Yeah, it's an incredibly effective way of, because I remember, I'm going to mention our friend Sanguine again, because he had said numerous times in different circumstances on this show that the phrase about the only thing it takes for great evil to occur is for good men to do nothing. And he said, that's horse shit. You can co-opt good men. By and large, a lot of the people that you see raging on Twitter against MAGA, racists, whatnots, that they have now othered, are, to their friends, family, and neighbors, good people. They don't kick puppies. They don't abuse their children.
You call them fine people.
They pay their taxes. Yeah, many fine people on either side of the issue.
Which he did say.
They believe in their heart of hearts that they are right. And the people who are winding them up, and they're doing it quite cynically, just like was done in Europe in the 1930s and in Russia in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, is by dehumanizing Those that don't agree with you, you turn hate into a virtue. And hate, and people who hate can kill and see it as being virtuous.
A good thing. Yes.
And face wall comrade guy thought he was helping. He thought he was helping. They literally did think they were. It's why there were some people at the Nuremberg trials who didn't quite understand what it is they'd done wrong.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Because they'd lost their minds. This is the madness of crowds.
Kaltenbrunner was still confused when the floor of the gallows hit him in the face on the way down, causing him to strangle brutally. Too bad.
Yes, I mean they are confused because they.
But he his last
they've been
words
propagandized.
were, "I've done nothing wrong." Heil Hitler. All right, see ya.
But it's propaganda helmet wearing window liquored senator. That's a very good description, Devil Fruit.
I wanted you to get to see that. I knew you would enjoy that.
But it's and one of the other things that doesn't exist, and I know this is a sore subject because there are a fair number of people who are our viewers and who are members of Minions and whatnot who are agnostics. But without the love thy neighbor check that comes with a certain degree of casual or cultural theism, you can co-opt people a lot faster.
Yes.
You can co-opt them a lot faster. And the left, we saw it with Atheism Plus, right? There were some of the earlier otherers. They began othering theists.
Oh, yeah.
Very strongly othering theists as stupid, silly people who believe in God. They're delusional.
That absolutely happened.
And they, it's like Dawkins is now currently amazed that politics has become cult-like and religious. And it's like, Jesus Christ, you certainly lack foresight, Richard. I'm sorry. You're real proud of yourself when you were one of the 4 horsemen, weren't you? Lacking a substitute, Dickie boy. Hierarchical people will find a new one.
Yeah.
And they have found the cult of personality. That's what they've latched on to.
Yeah. I think you're right. By the way, welcome Spud Gun to the conversation. Spud, you said you had a hot take on all this.
Yeah, on this particular bit, and hi, Skep, Adam, and Prospero.
Hello, Spud.
Right, okay, so I'm probably going to get shot here. Okay, and that's absolutely fine.
I've got a chest seal ready.
All right.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably either you or Adam who's going to shoot me, and then Prospero who's going to sort of kick me in the ribs whilst I'm bleeding out.
Okay. All right.
Sounds like
Just
fun.
as long as I get a good camera angle on it, I'm fine.
Right. Here's the thing. Okay, racism in its purest form is in-group preference.
No, nobody doubts that.
Okay. And it is the...
That is a very natural phenomenon. I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah,
I thought you said you were going to say something that was going to make me shoot you.
Yeah, no.
Well, he's getting to it. Go ahead, Spud. Hey, relax.
Skirting around
before
it,
I get
smell
shot,
it
I've got to prime it. Okay, I've got to prime the charge. Okay, so, and within that is basically where you other everybody else. Okay, not objectify them. Okay, because again, he who is made to believe absurdities can be made to commit atrocities.
Correct.
Okay, but because that was basically how the Nazis did it, how they did it with the kulaks. It was they made them believe absurdities. Okay,
correct.
And
through dehumanizing, you were able to create these absurd scenarios that people will buy into.
Yeah, and Right, and oh god, this is where it goes completely off its tits. Okay, right.
How do you mean that?
This is the bit where I'm probably gonna get shot.
Okay, we're all ready.
Okay, right. So Hitler's biggest mistake in creating what he was aiming for was that he, instead of a shifting people out under their own power, okay, was he created the concentration camps, the death camps.
Are you
Okay.
saying that if he had evicted the Jews instead of putting them in concentration camps, it would have been somehow more moral?
No, I'm not saying, I'm not conflating it with morality.
Okay.
Okay, I'm saying that's...
You said it was a mistake. How was it a mistake?
Okay, it was a mistake because as soon as the rest of the world found out exactly what was going on and how to then deal with it, okay, and then, you know, when it basically set up for us going through Nuremberg trials, so on and so forth, that is where he was never... Right, Europe, whenever it's fought wars, apart from the last two, has always allowed the loser to back away.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what Hitler did in World War II, okay, Germany was never going to be allowed that, ever. And so I'm not saying anything on the morality of it. Okay, I'm saying for the action he wanted to complete, he made a mistake in the way he went about it.
And
if he'd wanted to create an ethno-state, he could have done it by semi-voluntary
expropriation.
You're talking
expatriation.
about a tremendous... What was the population of Germany in 1937? Population of Germany in Germany in 1940 was 70 million people.
Yeah.
So to get rid of, and about 8 million of them, 8 or 9 million were probably Jewish. So you're talking about well over 10% of your population. And Germany is a densely populated little old place. Germany's about the size of a county in Texas. And it had a bunch of people. Man, that would have been a huge problem. But it was a problem that the Germans, believe me, that's a country of engineers. They would have overcome that if they thought that. I would respectfully take a slightly different view of that and say that I think they looked at all the things they could do and they thought, nope, the most efficient way is to kill them and put them in the ground here or whatever. And that was the only way they could get rid of these people. And here's the part that's scary to me. The philosophy inside the Nazi Party, which spread to a surprising amount of the populace, was that these were subhumans. They were othered, as Prospero described, and their objects, and it became okay in enough people's minds to kill them in a way that's hard to understand how brutal it was.
Yeah, suddenly become barbarian.
70 million in 40.
Yeah, right.
In 70.7 million in 41.
Right.
Okay, just to move this away from Europe for a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
And shift theaters, shall we say. In World War II, it is a similar form of othering that the Japanese were able to use toward the Chinese. Which seems like a very fine threading of a needle, since you are talking about,
in fact,
anthropologically speaking.
That's an amazing parallel.
anthropologically speaking, you're dealing with people who belong to the same groups of races. Because as far as human skulls and whatnot, nobody's going to go, haha, I found me an Ashkenazi. They're going to be like white European, white Caucasian. Where the confusion might occur would only be within Sephardic Jewry. That's even then
you gotta take
even then less likely.
What about the Yemenites? What you got a lot of other groups,
but you're talking about subgroup there, where you're not really on gross examination. You're gonna. We always used to say Negroid, Mongoloid, Caucasoid.
Yeah.
So between the Chinese and the Japanese, who are historically very much of the same ethnic group, way back, the depersonalization, the dehumanization of the Chinese, of the Koreans, offshoot of the Chinese.
Well, the Japanese dehumanized everybody
but Japanese.
Right, exactly. And they still do, by the way.
Oh, yes. There's the Issei, there's that Issei thing.
Well, no, if you go to Japan and you speak perfect fucking Japanese, and all the writing systems, and you're amazing, you know what they'll think about you? They'll think, an ape learned Japanese. Boy, that's kind of interesting.
Well, that's more old school.
An ape.
I do think
that
I understand it still exists, but I don't think it is as culturally widespread among younger people.
No, I think it's being revived.
It might be.
There's substantial literature to that effect.
It might be, and
it may be people getting excited about that.
Yeah,
it's hard when it's a second language.
And it can be
stuff I'm looking at.
And it can be people creating tempests in teapots because there's a small group of people that do that, and then they write it large.
Right.
I don't think as many people get called gaijin as they used to be. But
gaijin, isn't that savage or something?
White boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it means not Japanese or savage.
Yeah, Anjin used to do that. Remember in Shogun, Anjin-san, Outlier.
Yeah, Anjin-san.
It carried an honorific because it's an honorific designed culture.
How many times have you read that novel?
Never.
No.
I made it about halfway through and I just couldn't. Clavel I found to be very dense and difficult to
Really?
read.
I'm surprised.
I know. I could find Michener that way too. And Michener wore me out. Michener was a made-for-TV writer in many ways. Yeah. But
Centennial wore me out, even though
I read Centennial.
Yeah,
he did. Now, don't go. No, don't. Spud, forget you said anything about that. We don't discuss Tolkien on this channel.
One thing about
unless
Tolkien,
it's worshipful.
Right? No, I made it about 2 pages into the bit where he was explaining the makeup of the language, and it just broke my head.
Oh,
right at the beginning, before you even get into the story, and it was like, nope, not for me.
So you don't like Tolkien?
It's not that I don't like him.
What's wrong with you, man?
God damn it! Why are we going down this hole?
Well, it's like, for example, I read Pyramids by Terry Pratchett, and I haven't read him since. So it's not that I don't like him.
So are we going to start?
Dragons.
Are we going to start talking?
No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that because everybody has the right to love or hate things. Yeah,
absolutely.
There's things
more or less.
that people that sacred cows that everybody thinks everybody has to like, and I can Prospero was making a little gentle fun of me because I can kind of be that there's Tolkien and there's everybody else. You know, there's and I am a little bit that way, and that's just who I
you're
am.
that way with Star Trek a little bit, but not entirely.
Well, mostly with Star Trek, the things that make me crazy are Star Wars and the Star Trek non-canon stuff that no, I'd refuse. And if they have a trans Trek, I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah,
I won't watch that because it's an obvious,
Right,
stop
it's
to the current
just-
political thing.
it's
This
just
trans
gross.
Trek is a bad idea. It's
Yeah.
just a terrible
Well, I mean, it's
idea.
like when I call it Deep Shit Nine instead of Deep Space Nine, you don't flip out.
no.
Because
I liked parts of Deep Space Nine. Other parts just wear me out. I just wonder why I'm wasting.
I broke
you know,
after
dwindling
that
years of my
broke me.
life.
Well, actually,
watching this.
Next Gen broke me.
Next Gen broke you.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, God.
But when
stop.
they introduced the Borg, didn't you go, oh fuck?
Yeah, well, I was kind of like, oh, look, it's the Galactic Hoover in space, except it's a colony of people doing. I couldn't even.
But it worked it was such an interesting concept.
Well, hey, out in Chatland,
hive mind shit has gone on in lots of
Tall person
yes
has brought up in an attempt to change subject.
Thank Christ.
We're all here. Anita Sarkeesian is shutting down feminist frequency.
Oh, awesome!
I guess the money dried up.
So I guess Gamergate is finally over.
And the money stopped rolling in. How sad for her.
No, here. I got you, Tall.
From the musical
You're
Anita.
Amoeba.
The feminist freak is shutting down feminist frequency. How
I know.
appropriate.
Oh, shit.
You can't tell me that's not
Here's
a
Clippers.
narcissistic person.
Oh shit, Jack's here. Shut down the stream.
Here.
Oh, why?
Shut it down. We gotta shut it all down. Shut it down. I want those
oh my
lights
God,
out.
stop it. You need to go to I gotta Kmart. Gotta go to Kmart.
Hey Jack.
Oh, what did Anita think of Star Trek? I don't know. She probably think not enough.
I don't
Not enough
care
women.
when
I don't
Anita
know.
thought of Star Trek. For the love of God, Frosted, don't go looking for an article explaining what Anita thought of Star Trek. Or I will never, ever,
Prospero, there's probably 3 already on Minions.
Yeah, they probably are.
On not Minions, on Medium.
That's a dangerous ask.
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
Skep
don't
Tock.
go looking.
Why would you ask if you want Jack on the
Medium is like Dear Diary.
Jack's a good guy.
show?
Yeah, and do you know what the shame of it is?
Adam.
Yeah, bring Jack on. 'cause
Jack,
I-
you should come on just to piss off Adam. I'm
He's
teasing you,
practicing
Adam. I
his
love you.
yeah.
Oh, so are we saying piss off Jack now so we don't upset Adam?
Oh no, we always
I
piss
just-
Jack
still
off.
feel like
I just
after
want to
the
see the
last,
conflict at this point. All right, hang on, Jack.
It's two ways. It's one. I was a sub on his last Quippers
Yes,
United,
you were.
and second, I lost, and so
I lost too, Adam. Calm down. We both lost.
Well,
Oh yeah, I'd go on there and get me
the
ass
soul
kicked all
still
the time.
burns.
I know the soul still. Well, that was kind of a
It's in Discord,
painful.
Jack.
Last Friday was kind of painful, wasn't it, Adam?
Ooh-wee.
Yeah, you've never heard Adam any happier in your life to go. I'm gonna have to go on over to Minions now. Bye.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I gotta.
Please don't talk to me about Minions.
Oh hey, Jack, how's it going?
You rang.
Hi, Lurch.
Yeah. Your lurch is about as good as Adam's Scottish accent.
No
so.
shit.
Hey, I thought my Scottish was fairly well.
That's lurch. That's the lurch who knows calculus. that's that voice.
Hi guys, you
I
rang?
suppose he does. You rang.
You want to see the first order derivative?
It's like Lurch Urkel.
Lurkle.
Lurkle.
That's
Yeah, right,
perfect.
exactly. Lurkle.
I like that.
That would be impressive. So Jack,
Jack.
what you been up to?
Not much. Just worked out. Got my sweat on. Ew.
Don't.
God,
don't
that
talk
was
about
really
your
a
sweat.
little too gay of a comment, Jack.
Yeah.
Please don't do that again.
Well, I can't talk about my shitty work day, so I'd rather
I know,
talk
but I
about
got
that.
sweat on. Is that what
Yeah,
all the
I know.
hipsters are saying these days?
No, it's not. That's
Get
why
my
I'm
sweat
here.
on.
That's
You know,
why I'm here and not at a club.
Okay, well, all I can imagine, I'm just hearing in my head Toby Keith song, "Gonna get my drink on." I was like, "Gonna get my sweat on."
Come
I
on,
don't
you're
think so.
here
You know,
instead
I
of a
just
club. What
want
are
to
you
say,
gonna go meet somebody?
you
How
know,
does that work?
in a way, I owe some gratitude to Anita, because a lot of people who saw Anita then saw her in contrast to Bering, who was just
Yes.
Bering was brutal to
Right,
Anita
hang on,
Sarkeesian, and so then Tall Parsons says, well, that led to Monkey, which that's kind of
True.
what happened with me. It's just I had discovered Bering before and was discovering Monkey just as Gamergate was, getting going, and then
That all
I
kind of
just
started
followed Monkey for a long time.
around the same time.
Prospero.
But hold on, Jack? What is your take on that comment that Tall made earlier?
What I saw vids responding to Anita, like Bering
Closing up-
basically.
No,
Bear-
Anita closing up feminist.
Feminist
frequency.
frequency.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
I
But-
wasn't
but I-
aware that was still even a thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
That is
that
true.
maybe be why she finally sucked the last bit of juice out of that grape and
Yeah.
left the skin to die on the sidewalk, an
It-
empty husk, just like her soul.
Whoa.
I know,
But,
bro.
That's
I
a pretty
can
good
go
description of her. Yeah, for
Mhm.
me, it was Anita Sargon Bering almost simultaneously.
Oh, Sargon, yeah, Sargon was a big part of that.
Monkey, Lords of the Night.
You and
Minions.
I met in Monkey's chat.
Yes.
And Lords
Yeah,
of the Night
that's
chat.
how I got found out about Minions. But by then, I was already watching Bering. I was already watching Sargon. I was already well aware
Remember
of
Peach
Kraut,
Bailey?
Peach.
Oh, I wish she was still around, but I think she has a life now.
Yes, people have to have lives. I noticed Sugar Tits is kind of back in motion now that she's got a child that no longer she has to worry about burning the house to the ground. You get them over age 3, they maybe not as prone to self-murder.
Yeah.
I think both of them have found a way to manage a nice video release because both Bering and Sugar Tits have, put out some pretty good content recently.
Yes, they have, and I mean
they
it's
did
tough.
it
They had a toddler. I mean that's tough.
But Sugar Tits' Twitter feed is some really funny stuff.
She is hilarious.
It's really worth paying attention to.
She's more
she's
cutting than Bering.
She is. She's more evil. She's much more evil than you. Delightfully
yes.
so.
Good kind of evil.
The very
Awesome
best,
evil.
The thing that makes me, when I think of Prospero, it makes me smile because you capture it so beautifully, my dear. You're so evil. I am too.
Well,
And
yeah.
love
I
it.
mean, the thing is,
I
though,
love being evil.
you piss off she-bears.
Yes.
If you think you were in trouble with the he-bear, the thing is,
The she-bears don't
we
stop.
women who despise feminism because it's a supremacy cult.
Oh,
and we
yes.
hate
the
identity
wee women.
politics, and we can't stand this othering of men and emasculating of men because we're looking around at all these young boys and going, "What the fuck is that?" Yeah, I mean, we're madder than the guys in many ways, and
Yeah.
and we're mad at our compatriot
It's
sisters who raised these damned weak-kneed, spaghetti-armed, man bun wearing excuses.
What the fuck happened to
Hey.
Mike Milley? Where did he lose his
Okay.
balls?
You know what? I have a man bun, but I don't got spaghetti arms. That's
Like-
not fair.
Could
Right, I'm
like-
could I
sorry, Adam. Your man card has now been revoked.
No, I wear a man bun because it gets hot working around servers, and
You flunk
Right.
your hair on top of your
You
head.
can wear a ponytail.
No, he's in
As a man.
IT support. He has
Nope.
to have a man
Nope.
bun.
Nope.
I would
Nope.
I would still like to suggest that the most evil person I know in this general sphere is in chat right now. His name is Frosted Glass.
Well, yeah.
Frosted.
Who?
What's wrong with Frosted?
Evil.
Frosted is the single most evil human being I have ever met in my
Whoa,
natural
is he?
life.
Whoa,
Yes.
that's
Period. There is no comparison.
He takes pleasure in the torture of others.
Hey, I don't know. He invited me on his show one time, and he was pretty nice. He offered some donuts and some Kool-Aid. It
Yes,
was nice.
but you didn't get the donuts, you didn't get the Kool-Aid, but you got an article from The Root and another one from Medium. That's what he does to you. He asks you nicely.
I don't go to meetings where they serve Kool-Aid, just so you know. I
Oh.
saw this thing about Central America.
It's Flavor Aid.
Mm.
Yeah, that was
Flavor
Flavor
Aid.
Aid.
It was Flavor
For the
Aid.
love of God, that was Flavor Aid.
Let's get it right.
Well, I know that it was Flavor
I
Aid.
know, but my inner autist is screaming,
No, I get it.
details matter.
Well, I know.
No.
But I'm
I know
broadcasting for the
Tall-
masses.
tall-
I'm just
person.
picturing the Kool-Aid guy
Thousands of
busting
people.
through a wall with a machine gun and nailing Jones before anybody can drink the Flavor Aid.
Well,
Don't
and
drink that shit.
it's also one of those things where the I guess catchphrase has caught on
Yeah.
and run amok, much like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
Where's my tinfoil sombrero now?
Yes.
Tall person, Matt, I find Frosted more chaotic than evil. No, you're wrong. It's evil. It's not chaos because
His opinion is wrong.
chaotic is indiscriminate. There is nothing indiscriminate about what Frosted does.
It's very targeted.
He finds you, he targets you, and then he just rips you to fucking shreds. And he can do it in a word. He is malicious. He's awful. I hate the man.
He's
Watch
your
the
best
corner on
friend.
Fridays. What a prick.
So
Let
he's
them
more
fight.
pure evil.
Hell of a marketing video there, Jack.
I don't even know what to say. I
Hell
don't think
of a
we
marketing.
violated anything. I think we're
No,
all
he's
right.
just trying to gin up interest in the show and the way
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Jack thinks works.
You know what? Maybe,
Kinda guerrilla
maybe
marketing.
and we can host it
Guerrilla
on the
marketing,
minions.
Yeah,
It
Right.
kind of does work, though.
We'll
You
get our
got
cut.
it.
it does. It does because I mean, I still am trying to get over the use of the phrase alabaster savage.
Schlastenfuden.
I just
Yeah.
what did you just say? Adam?
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
No, I know how to say it. I just
It
want to say
sounded like
it.
you said Sebastian Fruiten.
Sebastian Frutens.
Yeah. May I just make a point as well
No.
to what Prospero
Please, no,
said
please do.
about feminism and the way most women hate feminists? You know,
Okay,
because
go on.
that's generally the way it is now. You get in the UK,
really?
I think less than 7% of women
Really?
identify as feminists.
That's progress.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
absolutely.
amazing.
Because
No,
most women now saw what the
yeah.
feminists took away from them. Okay.
Or is it just all the imports from the Islam
No.
countries?
I would-
Not that many people
there
in
not that
Britain.
many feminists coming in from Iran.
Oh,
I
no,
would like
there's
to
not-
know. I would like to know
So
what does that
population-wise, that's-
what does that statistic look like over time? Because
What
I
statistic?
wonder
What
I won-
statistic?
the popularity of feminism, or how many people identify
Would identify
as
what
feminists.
percentage of women identify? as
High in the
I
feminists?
want to know if there
70s,
was
higher in
ever
the
a
80s.
majority.
Yes,
Hang on.
yes, I would say in the 80s there was a bump there. 70s to into the early
Right.
80s there was a bump. I think most of us thought that yes, we're feminists because it was kind of the
Hip.
first wave to second wave equality in the workforce. We just wanted to be recognized as legal and financial equals, dower rights,
This is-
that those kinds of things. There were still states that were hammering out dower rights issues well after World War II. So back
yeah.
then, but then I realized they were a bunch of fucking whining cunts, pardon my French. And I was like, you just want men to do your shit for you. and you're too lazy to do it yourself, and then you want to complain that you're being shut out of stuff. If you can't lift the ladder, bitch, you can't be a fireman.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the thing.
Interesting. Less than 30% of American women identify as feminists. 70% plus do not. About 71% do not.
Good.
That's interesting. I did not think it was that low. That's thank you, Spud. I appreciate that.
No problem.
They're just noisier. They've always been noisier.
You're right.
I mean, I can remember a couple female friends of mine getting me to join this little group that was run by a professor that I knew, you know, and it was women, and we were all supposed to read how to be an assertive, not aggressive woman, and blah, blah. And I start reading it, and I'm like, this is pop psychology horse shit. You know, well, you know how welcoming I was to any form of inculcation, Skep. Happy little iconoclast that I was, and I was a tomboy to begin with, so I was like,
did you carry a hammer around?
Metaphorically, yes.
Yes.
Prospero probably carried the full toolkit.
Did you hammer in the morning? Did you hammer in the evening?
I hammered all over this land.
There you go.
I hammered out danger. I hammered out warning. I hammered out love between my brothers and my sisters, all over this land.
I thought you weren't from Alabama.
Really? I don't sound at all like I'm from Alabama.
No, you don't. She sounds like she's a Virginia accent.
Yeah,
anything.
I can get North Florida if you want.
You hammer out love between your brother and your sister.
Oh no! Well, see,
that's a song, Spud.
That's
somebody... I know, and I know that's not bold.
What kind of gospel culture are you from, son?
It was Jesse Colin Young song.
Yeah.
And I met him once.
Did you?
I got to listen to him and Leo Kottke play jam together while we set up chairs for the concert that they did that night in Athens, Georgia.
That is obnoxious.
That Athens, Georgia is where Leo Kottke was born and grew up. He's a hometown kid. And so he's the local select, you know, this was 1975 that this happened. And so he was just getting his music career going. Jesse Colin Young had the big hit with the Youngbloods. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try and love one another right now. And he was down doing a concert. This benefit between the University of Georgia and the Navy sponsored this concert series in Athens. And so we were down there. So I was volunteered to go over because I was, you know, I was handy labor. I was a student at the school, supply corps school there. They said, go over and, you know, you're a volunteer, go over and, you know, set up chairs. And that was easy work. It was fun to do. And this guy comes out and starts talking with us. And I realized that's Leo Kottke. He's talking about, and he went up and starts playing. Jesse Colin Young comes in, picks up a guitar, walks over, pulls up a chair next to him, and the two of them just played on stage. And we got to listen to them jam while we were setting up chairs. It was the most distracting thing I've ever done in my life. It was trying not to just stand there and be amazed.
Come Together was a great song.
And when Leo was show it off too, like a big dog. He was just hot dogging it, and you know, young guitar player. Man, I just love watching that.
There were a couple big acts. I mean, decently sized acts that came out of Athens. You know, college towns breed.
Oh yeah.
You know, some musicians.
Ann Arbor. You know, Bob Seger.
Yep.
Right. Can I finish my point about feminism, please? Because
please.
Don't tell me if I can't.
Good bookmarking.
No,
good bookmarking.
Excellent.
It's in my head and it's stuck. Hang on, did you say go on?
Yes, yeah, please go for it. Just
right.
Go.
Okay. So
do it now.
Yep. Most women now are understanding what feminism took away from them. And I'm saying most because some women enjoy the whole sucking the corporate cock thing. Okay. Basically, the whole raising a family and being the homemaker. Most women would identify with that as being their primary goal in life. You know, most women don't want to go and work at
Nameless,
9 to 5 or a
faceless
shitty
corporate
factory job. You know, they want a man to provide them with a house so that they can create the home. And feminism,
But feminism,
especially second and third wave, took that away from them.
they lied to us, Bud. They told us we could have it all. There
They
aren't enough hours
absolutely
in the
did.
day. There are not enough hours in the day to have it all. And you ended up with a lot of neurotic women who felt like they were failing everywhere. One of the issues that most women have is feeling like they're failures because they are not able to meet the needs of the corporate job or meet the needs of the family and meet the needs of the soccer mom and meet the needs of the PTA mom. Not that that's the thing. It's one of the reasons PTA fell apart, actually, if you think about it. And we have seen a lack of cohesion in society since women felt obliged because they were told they were useless if they didn't enter the workforce.
You know
That's
what that
I find the most disgusting thing.
You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the theory about. It reminds me of the idea about how colleges would disproportionately allow black students in above the other races, and the idea that ultimately those black students were more likely to fail because if you had students with lower SAT scores in general put into a high performing school, they're not going to be able to match up, and so ultimately they're going to drop out. And so it's almost as though you artificially
program them to fail.
You put their thumb on the scale, and then they fail, and then you blame sexism or you blame racism.
Yes, self-fulfilling prophecy loop.
Yes,
yeah. Exactly. There were people who were concerned about that. I had a friend who was working at Spelman for a while in institutional research. He was like the one white guy there, and the individual that he responded to, who worked under, was one of the I can't remember if she was she was provost of the university, and she had a copy of the bell curve on her.
That's the treasurer, isn't it?
Yeah, and he said, "Jesus Christ, you've got that book." And she said, "I'm tired of washing students out of this school. I'm tired of seeing high failure rates, and it's the black men who are coming here because Spelman used to be a women's school, if I recall correctly, and it went co-ed." She said, "I'm tired of our bringing students into the school who can't succeed in college." Wow. And she said, "I have to be realistic about that. And I know what this tells me. This is not a predictor of individual capability. This is a curve. And this is telling me I'm losing men at too great a rate out of this school. And we are creating failures out of people that we should not be creating failures out of. How can we send out surveys to students? How can we begin to look at our metrics so that we're not doing this to young men?"
That is the most upsetting thing about all of this is men that all of this
successful elsewhere.
Yes, otherwise they go to college, they failed, they think they're failures.
All of this could be solved if people had a fundamental understanding of what statistics actually are and what they represent. But nobody knows. Nobody gets it.
Well, this woman understood it, and I remember having a conversation with my friend about his time at Spelman, and he said she impressed me so much. He said because her bravery in the face of some of the social pressures to conform to everybody's exactly the same. She was like, "No, they're not, and I'm tired of seeing people fail, and we're doing a disservice." In a historically black college, we're doing a huge disservice to young black men.
Stigmatizing an entire generation of black men.
Yes, and it was breaking her heart. The women were doing fine. Black women are extremely successful in colleges and universities across this country, regardless of whether they are historic black colleges and universities or not. Black men are not. Why are we stigmatizing them?
Right. Why did we criminalize them with the war on drugs? Why did we do all the shitty things trying to
Fabian
make society?
socialists.
Thank you. Perfect. Exactly right. Explain what Fabian socialists
They were
are,
the
just real quick
eugenics branch of the
to everybody.
socialist
and
movement.
and
The
what-
social, and also linked up with the social justice fucking Methodists. Because
what charming traits did they evince?
oh, let's see, Margaret Sanger traits, such like man and Superman
Right.
kind of notions. George Bernard
Mentions
Shaw,
Ubermensch.
Untermensch,
Yeah.
that will keep a certain number of black men around because they are physically stronger than white men. Therefore, they'll be useful.
Like a herd.
Like a breeding herd. Yeah, it's very
Mhm.
Mandingo thing going on there too, don't you? Just get that vibe.
God, that
Margaret Sanger
was
must have never gotten fucked in her whole life. But that bitch, George Bernard Shaw, Woodrow Wilson to a lesser extent, Edith probably big time, all the way from the 1880s into the 1830s, which is why
1930s.
Hitler doesn't occur in a vacuum, folks.
Well, no, Hitler
this-
was a product of his time, of the
Anti-Semitism
processes.
of Austria was legendary, and the anti-blackism of America, especially among intellectuals. I'm not talking about Jim Crow South or anything. I'm talking about intellectuals.
Well,
absolutely.
Germany
Pretty
too.
damn legend. Oh, Germany. God damn, Schwarz.
Yeah. My God. Yeah. Schwarz. Schwarz, I think.
But the it's there's a fairer element of Fabian socialism and National Socialism. Just saying. Eugenics got really popular. Anybody who blames Nietzsche for it can go hang. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
No.
the fact that they use man, Superman, forget it.
The language is almost it's almost disconnected entirely from the theory.
Yeah, it is. And
Nietzsche was the answer to Hegel, and some German was going to write what Nietzsche wrote.
Yeah. And then another German was going to look at Hegel and go, yeah, but maybe that's still a good idea. And then a couple of Russians were too. And then they humped Schopenhauer. Don't forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the fundamental misunderstanding of Hegel is responsible for a lot of 20th century problems.
You read Schopenhauer, though, at least now, I find myself kind of going, yeah, you're right. Yeah, most of the time, yeah, you're right about that too.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Hegel was making observation on slow societal evolution. Slow, not man-made, not engineered societal revolution. And a whole bunch of people decided that it was a very good idea to insert themselves into it. Not unlike that guy on the raft who had to insert himself into his own experiment. They had to hink around with a philosophy of thesis, antithesis,
Can't believe
synthesis.
I was an anthropologist. That's not an anthropologist.
Of course it isn't. It is. It's a I'm a deity.
He may have sat through enough anthropology lectures to obtain a major. It's not that hard these days, but Jesus Christ.
Well, this was a number of years ago, but I mean, it doesn't matter. There are evil people that engage in science or scientific experiment. So,
wait. By the way, when was that? What year was that? Just real quick, back on the raft. Was it 93? That was
73.
73. 73. Yeah, I thought it was in the 70s.
Yeah, 73. I think the Stanford prison experiment was 71. They're kind of similar in the insertion of bias by people engaged in
Are you
running
talking
the
about
study.
the Kon-Tiki, or are you talking about the Atlantic version?
I'm talking about the Atlantic version was in the 70s.
Yeah, Stanford was summer 71.
Okay, then this one was 73. It was called the Peace Project, Skep.
Yeah, Peace Project. Okay.
Peace Project will get you your answer. I'm almost certain it was 73.
Yeah. The Peace Project. Oh.
This is the thing, though. I mean, I know Skep, you said that wasn't anthropology, but
Well,
yes,
no, I
it
said
was.
the
It
guy was not acting like an anthropologist. Yeah, as an ethnographer, you have a specific duty to not insert yourself into the story. You're there to record the story, to live unobtrusively as a member of the tribe, and to document that. But
Yeah,
he did not act as an ethnographer. He did not act in any way as a cultural anthropologist, which is what I assume he's claiming to be, unless he's an archaeologist who's looking for wrecks in the ocean.
No, that's not what he was doing. He was running a social experiment.
Well, then he's a cultural anthropologist.
Yeah,
He was a fuck up.
Well, it was also very sociology.
Imagine my shock.
If you know what I mean, what sociology became. It had the potential to be a social branch of anthropology, right? But it decided not. It had to be social engineering.
Weber had it steered in the right direction at the beginning of the 20th century. Max Weber.
And then it all went to shit.
If they just said, yeah, that's what sociology is. No. It's how we perfect the world. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it became the pet project of people who, the people that major in clinical psychology because they're fucked up themselves.
Well, yeah, they're trying to get to their own answers. Sure,
that's it. They're trying to, physician heal thyself.
By the way, like every psychiatrist ever, change my mind. Change my mind.
I've met actually one that I don't think was in deep need of work himself, but I
was saying they all need deep work. I'm saying that they get into psychiatry because they want to find the answers to their own problems.
Yeah,
maybe not necessarily that they're crippling. You got to be pretty high functioning to be a psychiatrist.
Most psychologists,
but they go that way. That. Oh, psychologists, it's
kind of their stock and trade.
Yeah,
I just found by the 70s when I went to college in the late 70s, most people who were in sociology or psychology were people that you kind of had to watch because they had issues, big ones. Because sociology became this weird dumping ground.
Yes.
For people who wouldn't major in psychology because that might be too hard. They wouldn't major in anthropology because either the major didn't exist or that might be too hard. They wouldn't major in political science because that might be too hard. So they ended up in sociology.
Right.
Right. Counterpoint to not the psychiatry, the other one.
Psychology.
Me sister's at university doing psychology, not because she fucked up herself and she knows her own points of fuck up, but she's not trying to fix herself. It's because she's a fixer. She helps other people.
Sure.
To her own detriment.
Yeah. Well, that means she needs help.
Yeah. Well, understand. Don't.
Yeah. I'm not saying they were hyperbole.
Hold on, just for a moment, please.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, just for a moment, Spud.
Yeah.
Don't take my hyperbole as something to be interpreted literally. I didn't mean it that way. I was saying, something for effect, to be funny. Of course, there are good, decent psychologists, psychiatrists, people who are dedicated, smart people. Hard as hell to get an MD, period. Even if you are, helped along the way and tutored through and can barely make it and land in psychiatry, you're still a very, very bright person. And, that takes a lot. But by and large, and I have known from having been in the medical business and knowing lots and lots and lots of doctors and lots of psychiatrists, being as we made a major antidepressant, had to talk to them, that most of them have real issues, and it's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
Charles Krauthammer. There you go.
Yeah, Charles Krauthammer, exception proves
There's
the rule.
exception that proves the rule because he didn't have
somehow
any choice.
Touched by God.
That was he didn't have any choice. He wanted, I think surgery was where he was headed, but
yeah, that's what he wanted to be.
There was just no chance. So he had to choose the one thing that he could do from the position that he was in after the accident.
Did you read his book? I read his book.
Yeah.
Do you know why he? So you know why he chose surgery. He didn't think he was smart enough to be an infectious disease and be an internal medicine guy. He said, there's no way I was going to study that stuff that hard for that long.
You know what's funny is 15 minutes of him studying would have been super hard for most people.
Oh God, what
man was excessively bright. I still miss the hell out of him.
Me too.
He was a bit of a neocon, but I still miss the hell out of him.
Yep. A good thinker is a good thinker. It's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Yep. I miss Walter Williams too a lot.
Oh,
I dread the day Thomas Sowell dies.
I knew you were going to say that, and I was almost going to say it. Then I said, no, I'm going to not say that and hope she doesn't say it, but you said it.
Yeah, no, I'll just probably go dark for about a week.
I'm just sackcloth and ashes.
We all know it's happening. The man has looked ancient for the last decade.
Sowell?
Yeah.
Sowell?
Honey, black don't crack. He doesn't look that ancient at all.
He looks pretty ancient.
Well, I tell you, I can find younger men than he that he looks better than. But yeah, I know he is. But I mean, when he was 50, he looked like he was about 30.
That's true.
If you go back and look at that interview that he did with William F. Buckley, he was 50 years old, and he was like almost a contemporary of Buckley's age-wise.
Yeah,
do I look old?
No.
No,
Jack?
particularly.
You look middle-aged.
I look middle-aged. I don't look 70 years old.
No, I'd say you were late middle-aged. You know, getting on.
Yeah, I would say
the wrong side of 50.
I'd say 55, maybe.
The next kind of a giveaway. That's the big thing. And also, my John Bolton mustache is coming in.
Stop that. It doesn't look like John Bolton. You've got chin hair. He couldn't grow any.
That's right.
I gotta hate that man. I used to like him too. I hate him now.
Yeah, I just think he's weak. That's the sad thing about Bolton. I think he's weak.
He's weak. He must perish.
No. Actually, he's more to be pitied than scorned.
Yeah. Yes.
He falls in the more to be pitied than scorned category. Mike Pompeo, on the other hand, Mike Pompeo is like in line for the a la Lantern treatment.
You better explain what that means.
No, I'm not explaining it. I don't want the stream shut down. YouTube's gotten particularly sensitive.
Okay.
Look it up, y'all. It's French. A la Lantern. Just lantern with an E on the end of it.
I just put it in chat.
Yeah. Because somebody made Shinobi Yaki had his Twitter account shut down because they're still out there, and particularly in Europe. I don't know if he's gotten it back yet. I should check. But he made some reference to hanging from lampposts and boof. So they don't get historical reference as metaphor.
Right. I was going to say the direct translation is lamppost, which gives you all the info you need.
Yes. To the lamppost.
Originally I was thinking it might be like light them on fire or something. But...
No. It means to the lamppost.
Yeah, that is what it
literally the translation.
Yeah.
So we'd like to take you to the lamppost. What we do thereafter shall not be discussed.
What a lovely little trip. That sounds very nice.
Look, it looks just like a gibbet.
Yeah. Let's get you
How
off
convenient.
your feet. Let's get you off your feet.
Yes. Yeah. Or as Robespierre said, what the hell are you getting ready to do to me? Uh-oh. Where'd Spud go?
Spud just unplugged. I bet he unplugged his mic. I'm getting a They will need to connect their mic cam before you can add them to the stream. So, Spud, if you're listening, okay, he just exited. He'll come back in now.
Hey, we're
Just
an
hit the
hour and
link
a-
again. Come back.
We're almost an hour and a half in.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I was going to actually begin to circle things up, wrap it up as close to on the half an hour as possible. Poppy, how you doing? Nice to see you. I didn't notice you were here.
Right.
until
I
just now.
don't know what happened there. Do apologise. But
Your mic probably disconnected.
yeah, stupid bloody thing.
Yeah,
I need
well,
one
that's
of them boom arms.
Oh, you ought to visit us more often, Tyrannius Alexandrius, the Invictus.
We miss you. We do miss you. Come be
Love
on the
it.
show.
What a great name.
Yes, Tier. Come to the lamppost with me.
Come, Tyrannius. Come to the lamppost.
Stop it.
I'm just kidding.
Probably shouldn't say
Tier's awesome.
Tyrannius. Oops,
Wrap
sorry.
it up, naps to be had. Oh, shut up, Johnny. You're so helpful.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, guys, we have been your minions tonight. Does anybody have anything they must say before the stream ends?
Yes,
Yeah.
a la lantern. No, God.
A la lantern.
Ooh.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining
but
us.
no.
Thank you, chat, for coming in. Panel, thank you for being a part of this. We have been your minions, and the zoo is closed. And I